All right, Steph, thank you so much. You mentioned the closures. Let's first begin now with what happened. One man suffering life-threatening injuries after a Peel Police pursuit of a stolen vehicle in Brampton, and now the province's Special Investigations Unit is investigating. The victim airlifted to a trauma center after being brought by a land ambulance to Pearson Airport. As for the crash, it happened shortly after midnight on Williams Parkway near Kennedy in Brampton, and that's where the van went out of control, struck a wall during this police pursuit. Peel Police are now investigating if alcohol was a factor here. Now let's bring you to a live look at the scene. So far, no other information has been released on the victim. We are still waiting for an update on their condition. Of course, the SIU is called in to investigate whenever a member of the public is seriously injured or killed during a police interaction. As Steph mentioned there, Williams Parkway remains closed off from Rutherford to Centre Street, and Kennedy is closed near Church at Queen, and that's a second scene, which is part of the investigation. We're going to bring you visuals of that second scene coming up in just a bit. As we mentioned off the top of the show, the Ontario Hospital Association has now called an emergency meeting to determine how it is going to cope with the surging second wave of COVID-19. The board of directors will be meeting today as the head of the association representing hospital workers warns of possible overwhelming conditions. The CBC reporting Ontario Health has warned every hospital CEO across the province to be prepared to activate emergency plans within 48 hours if needed. Yesterday, health officials saying 921 people hospitalized with this virus, 249 treated in the ICU, more than any other point during the pandemic. Let's look to a bit of hope now. More vaccines are on the way, and they're expected to arrive within the next 2 weeks.
Canada is now contracted to receive up to 168,000 doses of the Moderna Covid19 vaccine before the end of December, pending Health Canada approval.
Moderna's vaccine is in the final stages of approval, but the Prime Minister says deliveries could begin within 48 hours after given the green light. Canada has a contract with Moderna to receive 2 million doses by the end of March, but initial shipments weren't expected to arrive until January. This vaccine, keep in mind, it is easier to store and to transport, needing regular freezers at about -20 Celsius, which is much less complicated than the Pfizer vaccine requirements. Now, we are expecting an update on incoming vaccines this morning during our year-end interview with the Prime Minister. He will be joining us in a Canadian Morning Show exclusive. A reminder, this is happening at 9:15 Eastern, only on City TV. You can also stream this if you need to be on the go, breakfasttelevision.ca. All right, let's get back to some of the vaccinations here at the provincial level. It's not yet clear how many doses Ontario will be receiving of this incoming Moderna vaccine and new shipments from Pfizer, but the province's task force is confident that more is on the way.
We have more people, about 1.4 million, than we will have. We'll have more demand than we will have supply of the vaccine. So we're going to roll it out as quickly as possible. It so much depends on the supply.
Officials hope to have enough vaccines for 1.2 million people in the early part of 2021, but stress that may not be enough to cover all of our long-term care residents and frontline healthcare workers. Doses aren't expected to be made available for the general public until at least April. Now let's show you some of the numbers. A dramatic uptick in cases in Ontario. The province reporting 2,275 new cases and 20 deaths. It's the first time we're seeing over 2,000 daily cases. But keep in mind, health officials say a change in how data is extracted resulted in a 2.5-hour extra hours to report. So that could be playing a role, obviously, in the higher numbers. Regardless, the numbers remain high. Toronto reporting the highest number with 713 of those cases. And 2 more schools with the Toronto District School Board have been closed due to public health investigations into COVID cases. They are Humber Summit Middle School, that's in the Islington and Finch area, where 2 students and 2 teachers infected. And Clairlea Public School, which is near Victoria Park and St. Clair in Scarborough, where there are 6 active cases among students. 9 TDSB schools already closed due to COVID, and they are all expected to reopen on January the 4th. In other news now, a 16-year-old boy has been arrested and charged in the fatal shooting of a tow truck driver back in May. 23-year-old Hashim Kanani shot and killed on Panorama Court near Kipling and Finch on May the 14th. A second man also suffering serious injuries. The teen arrested yesterday, formally charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder. Two other teenagers turning themselves in shortly after the shooting and are facing the same charges. None of the suspects can be named under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. And quite the scene here. Video posted to social media capturing a raging fire. This is at a tent encampment last night on Fort York Boulevard near Fleet Street and Lakeshore Boulevard. It erupted just before 10 last night. At least one tent destroyed, but have a look at what firefighters had to battle with. No word on what sparked this blaze. And of course, we're going to keep an eye on all of these encampments which remain across the city. All right, we're taking a break here on BT. Coming up, all non-essential businesses are being ordered to be shut down in Quebec to fight the virus. 680 senior business editor Mike Apple, he's coming up next with a look at the impact this is going to have